Hey, what's going on? You clicked on the right video because we're about to get into how to actually shoot smooth footage, emphasis on the word smooth, with a lightweight camera. I'm gonna show you two different ways. Let's do it. What's going on, guys? My name's Jack. I produce weekly content based around video editing, videography, and how to make money making videos. Subscribe now if any of that sounds interesting to you. Today we're jumping into another video here on my channel. Probably going to be on the shorter side of my normal videos, but we're going to be jumping into two different ways of how to actually shoot smooth footage with a handheld camera. Also a lightweight camera. Personally, I use the Sony a6300. Significantly lighter setup to the Canon 600D, which I originally started shooting on, a more traditional DSLR with the fact that it's more of a heavier, bigger build than the mirrorless setup that I'm using here. So always looking for a cool new way to actually shoot smoother footage with my lightweight camera, especially being that I don't like to be tied down to all sorts of, gimbals and, Steadicam, stuff like that. By all means, very cool, ways to nerf the handheld sort of unsmooth footage problem, but a lot of my projects I'm shooting handheld and I still want to be getting a very smooth, precise shot. So there's two ways that, throughout the 2 years nearly that I've had my camera, that I've kind of narrowed it down to as these are the best ways to actually get smooth footage. And those two ways, which by all means I'm going to be going much more in depth in a second, are slow motion and the camera strap trick. Slow motion, self-explanatory, how it's going to make stuff smoother. It's obviously slowing down your whole shot, but there's multiple ways you can do it. Same way with the camera strap trick. The camera strap trick, you might not even know what I'm talking about, but I assume if you've been shooting with a lightweight camera especially, you know about the camera strap trick. Basically, you put the camera strap on your camera and then pull it against your neck, and this obviously creates a much more, precise shot, a much more smooth shot, just for the basic fact that you're adding a whole nother point of contact by, pulling against your neck. So you're creating just a more smooth shot. But without further ado, we're going to jump into going in depth into these two seemingly practical, seemingly basic methods for actually getting smoother footage. And I'm going to tell you how you can kind of get the most out of both of these and also a few different ways to do them. So first off, slow motion. Two main ways to do slow motion. You could do artificial slow motion or something that's maybe not available to everybody, but the majority of you, I assume it is in-camera slow motion, which is probably the preferred method you'd kind of want to shoot slow motion in. Artificial slow motion is not the most commonly used phrase. I'm just kind of using it for this video because what I mean by artificial slow motion is fake slow motion, right? So I think it's a good word to use there because obviously you're faking the slow motion versus having actually built-in slow motion recording mode in your camera, which is the desired kind of slow motion effect you'd want to be doing. But artificial slow motion is cool for getting a smoother shot because obviously you're actually, generally making it half the speed. So you have to be precise when you're doing this. You can't shoot in a normal 30 frames a second because if you, put your 30 frames a second footage on half speed, 50% speed, you're going to be dealing with 15 frame a second footage, which is going to look super choppy. So if you are going for artificial, make sure you're at least shooting on 60 frames a second so that if you chop it in half and, slow that speed right down to the halfway point, the 50% point, you're still dealing with a 30 frames a second video file, and it's not looking super choppy. But 60 frames a second, by all means, is extremely good. And, you can get some really nice smooth footage. I'm sure I've shown on screen some artificial slow motion and, obviously the before and after of what it looks like of me doing this and then what the actual footage itself is looking like. And artificial slow motion is a lot of fun. And by all means, you can definitely smoothen your shots out right there. And you can do all this in the post-production process by simply shooting everything in 60 frames a second at the very minimum. If you can go higher, even better. And then just slowing everything down in the post-production process. But in-camera slow motion is like the holy grail of getting a smoother shot. If you do have a built-in in-camera slow motion shoot mode, just use that. It's absolutely phenomenal. Obviously, you can just get so much more out of your footage. Personally, my camera, the Sony a6300, shoots 120 FPS, so that is 4 times slow motion. If you're dealing with 30 frames and that's, regular speed, then obviously 30 times 4 is 120. And, boom, 120 slow motion is great, but by all means, I've used my friend Noah's Panasonic GH5, phenomenal camera. That only has 60 frames a second slow motion, which is obviously, 50%, it's 2 times slow motion instead of 4 times. The more slow motion you can do, the better, just for the nature of the smoother shot. And I'm sure I'm showing you on screen how smooth the footage really does look when you are using the in-camera slow motion opposed to the artificial. And also, it's 4 times, so it's double slow motion. It's, you know, the original artificial shot was 60 frames a second, so it was 2 times slow motion. This one is 4 times slow motion on 120 FPS. But boom, there you go. I've just shown you some pretty good footage of, you know, some before and after examples of the artificial and the in-camera. And by all means, slow motion is a top priority when it comes to trying to get smoother footage. This is the first thing I would recommend you. But there's also sort of environments where slow motion is not your you know, go-to by all means, and if you're shooting at low light, this would definitely be one of those environments because, you know, chopping it down to slow motion means that you're letting much less light in. If you're shooting at 120 frames a second, it's letting less light into your lens, meaning that if you're shooting in a low light environment, for example, you know, if you've been following my channel for a while, you know, I shoot a lot of nightclubs, pretty much an exact example, a perfect example of a low light environment, then this next trick could help you. And it is the camera strap trick. A lot of you will know about this, a lot of you probably won't. It's, you know, I think I generalized in the beginning and told you a little bit about it, but, you know, I'll go more in depth now. And it is when you put your camera strap on, put it around your neck and just pull. So you're adding a kind of third point of contact, and you keep this nice and stiff, pulled against your neck, and you're able to shoot, you know, really smooth footage. I'll be honest. And you can also go pretty fast, right? Because you can kind of get into kind of a motion where you're swinging from side to side. You're getting kind of a nice rhythm, and you can actually get some pretty nice flow type of footage. I think I would describe this look as kind of like a flow type of thing. But also, it does pick up still some shake and stuff like that. So I find that for some reason going faster kind of enables me to get a smoother shot rather than going slower with the camera strap trick, just for the nature of you know, it picking up a lot of those kind of little steps and stuff like that, whereas the slow motion kind of evens those out, even though they are technically still there. And by all means, the pulling the camera strap against your neck trick is a lot of, you know, added smoothness to your shots. And if you can't shoot slow motion, this is by all means your best bet if you're trying to shoot handheld still and you don't want to actually, you know, bring the added assistance and guidance of a gimbal, Steadicam, even a tripod maybe. And by all means, it is a cool way to nerf this or at least semi-nerf the kind of shaky footage problem. But you could also combine the camera strap neck trick with, you know, artificial slow motion or in-camera slow motion, which by all means is going to give you an even smoother effect and an even smoother shot. But by all means, if you're shooting in a low light environment, this might not be available to you, or else you might have just gone for the artificial or the in-camera slow motion by itself without having to combine it with the camera strap. But, you know, if you do combine it with the camera strap, it'll just be even smoother. So there's almost no reason not to. If, you know, you can be bothered to kind of have that extra element to the shot where you're pulling the camera strap on your neck. But I can tell you firsthand, artificial works really, really well with this. And, you know, you can just smoothen out your shot so significantly. And then obviously, you know, pretty obvious that the in-camera slow motion is going to be even better than the artificial. And that is the holy grail. If you can do artificial, if you can do in-camera slow motion, 100% do it. It is pretty much what I would assume as the best way to nerf the shaky footage problem and overall create a much smoother shot, much smoother footage using a handheld camera. And that's just my spiel right there. Those are the kind of the two main things that have enabled me to get smoother footage all across the board throughout, you know, the 18 months I think I've been using this lightweight setup, this Sony a6300. Great camera by all means, absolutely loving it. And if you've got a lightweight camera or simply just struggling with a shaky footage problem, I really hope that by the end of this video, which if you're watching this now, you've watched the entirety of, I hope you definitely took something from it and you can actually apply these two pretty basic tips, but still helpful tips to your video productions and your next production, and get some smoother footage. By all means, tell me in the comment section if you enjoyed this video. Tell me if you didn't. Thanks for watching, guys. I've been Jack. Video production content every single day, every single week. Have a nice day, and goodbye. See ya.